Okay, folks, surprise, surprise. We are going to do a Southern Charm season 10 episode 1 recap. Now, not as big of a recap as I usually do. I do not have I don't have the stamina for a full Southern Charm recap, especially to talk about these doofy guys when I'm a doofy guy myself. But we got to talk about this show. I mean, I think you don't want Southern Charm to be forgotten. 10 seasons on Bravo is a huge accomplishment. You know, Vanderpump Rules has 10 seasons, Married to Medicine has 10 seasons, a lot of the Housewives franchises, but most shows don't get to 10 seasons. And me personally, I loved this premiere. I was reading some stuff this morning where people were like, "Oh, they don't really seem connected as a friend group." Yes, yeah, a lot of people as they grow older, they get disconnected. But part of me, since I've gone through that or I'm going through that myself, I kind of find that fascinating to watch. And it's in a different location. It's not in West Hollywood. I don't have to see the Sir Alley, even though I wish Southern Charm had its own version of Sir Alley, but that's over at uh, Southern Hospitality, which premieres January 2nd, which I hear the third season is supposed to be crazy good. So I'm really excited to watch that as well. But I like that, as these dudes get older, they have to confront their own manhood and potential mistakes they make. And also the fact that Shep just can't go to actual therapy. He's got to go on he's got to go on a walkabout. He's got to go have a vision quest to confront his own demons instead of going to actual therapy. And there's something. I mean, listen, you can look at that two ways. The first way is like, well, I'm glad you're doing something and realize there's something disruptive in your own life that you need to fix. But then the other part of it is wildly hysterical because you're like, you could just talk to a professional. Like it's might not be as quick as doing ayahuasca, but there will be less demons and less fire clouds and less unicorns with talking to an actual therapist. If you're going to the right one, if it's the wrong one, it might be the same unicorns that you'll be seeing. Who knows? But there is something so innately comic in that to me. And as always, Southern Charm, it's a low key show about it focuses on these men, but the hidden message in here is that the women know what's up. From Miss Patricia down the line, the women are usually the ones, and it's almost this contemplation of being forced to be in a stupid man's world. Like you get the sense that Miss Patricia has seen it all, done it all. Madison is just like, these stupid men, these stupid men. And, you always have that in the background, but these men are so damn charming and funny to watch. I mean, it's the same thing with Vanderpump Rules in a way, because I could watch Sandoval and Schwartz all day long, every day, because there's something so comical about it. Now, the lives that they potentially have destroyed and hurt are not comical, but there is something about, this highfalutin man's search for meaning. Like there's something about us dudes where we wake up one day and we're like, what's it all about? The privilege that we have as white stupid men to like contemplate our own existences. Like I'm just going to take out some time and contemplate what it's all about. What am I doing here with this world? What does I, Shep Rose, have to offer the world and myself? But I also like vagina. I like a lot of different vagina. I don't want to commit. It all goes down to just wanting to sleep with as many or have high body count hair as Brittany Bateman would be called. Like these men all have high body count hair, as we heard on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City this this past week. I don't know. So I thought it was a great season premiere for me. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't expect much from it, so I enjoyed this a lot. And I think it's also the byproduct of having so many housewife shows on right now that it's nice to have that. I also love Below Deck Sailing Yacht. I think Below Deck Sailing Yacht is, low stakes but high reward for me personally, because it's one of those shows where I can just kind of let wash all over me. God, the when I hear myself espouse this bullshit, I'm just like, what life are you leading right now? You literally just talked about Below Deck Sailing Yacht just washing over you like like a purgatory shower. How are you guys doing? I decided to do this surprise episode I haven't been feeling well, but I woke up today and I'm feeling okay. And I'm going to go on a plane to see Dad. I'm taking my dad to see the Eagles in Las Vegas this weekend. So I wanted to get this out here. And like, I don't think I'll be recapping the entire Southern Charm season at all. And if I do, it'll probably be over on Patreon. What up, baddies? But there's something about a new show, like, and especially if I have opinions on it, I want to be able to talk about it and not just in the pop culture roundup where, we have about 5 or 10 minutes on it. I want to kind of get into it just because some of these scenes made me laugh so much, like the cooking scene with Craig while Shep was telling Austin that he had a vision about his sister on his ayahuasca trip, his dead sister on his ayahuasca trip. I was like, you can't write this shit. You cannot write this shit. I was stunned. I was stunned. Me and Rebecca, we were cracking up because we were just like, that is ballsy. Like, even if you did have a vision quest and you have one of your best friend's dead sisters comes to you in the vision quest, maybe you don't share that with the person who has the dead sister because it could really fuck up their day. Like, maybe you hold that back as something just for you. And maybe, I don't know, years down the line, maybe at retirement age, then you can bring it up. Like the fact that there were cameras there and he brought it up. And the thing is, I like Shep. I don't dislike any of these people. Well, I mean, at times, I really disliked Austin in the past. But, we're all trying. I don't know. We're all, and Austin, we find out, has a girlfriend. He's had a girlfriend for a minute, and I was shocked, and I'm so curious if she's going to be a part of this season or not. I would love to see Austin calling him, like saying Pookie all the time and Bub. And I mean, that is something that I would like to see. Remember, Austin has survived, his wilderness years, allegedly, that's when I had my real disagreement on him when he was in Summer House and Southern Charm. And he was laying waste because he was messing around with Sierra. He was messing around with Lindsay. He was messing around with a bunch of different people. And he was really feeling himself. And I think there's a part in every man's life where, stupidly or not, you are sowing your wild oats or feeling yourself. And only upon re-examination years later, you realize what a fucking idiot you were. And hopefully Austin is at that point. Now, I said, Craig is such a perfect example of actual growth in the Bravo cottage industry for men. We don't have a lot of examples like Craig. And Craig is doing what every grown man should do, is grow the fuck up and sew pillows. Like sew pillows, settle down. And the thing is, you're like, dude, this dude is really not perfect by any means, but going on the right path. And yet there's the one thing that he really desires that is so still out of his reach, and that is Paige settling down with him. You have somebody as dashing and good looking as Craig Conover, and he can't put a ring on it. People are always like, oh, I can't wait till he puts a ring on it. He would love to put a ring on it. And Paige is like, I'm living my best life. I do not want to go to Charleston and live there full time right now. I'm a big city gal. I got my own money. I'm doing my own shit. And like, imagine that. Like, and that's got to be one of probably the biggest turn-ons for Craig Conover, which, by the way, did you watch What Happens Live afterwards with Madison LaCroix? It turns out, like, I don't know why God gives so much to people, like certain people. Turns out, she says, Madison LaCroix said she heard that Craig Conover has a huge dong. A huge dong. God, I feel like I don't want to like tell God his business, but I really wish he would rethink certain things unlike anybody new he creates. Is like, if you're going to make somebody that good looking, you got to give them the world's tiniest penis. You've got to even the playing field out there for people. You just got to. That's just not fair in any sort of realm of imagination. Make Craig work for sexual gratification. You're giving this man a huge dong and good looks and pillow money. Why is Craig one of God's favorite sons? Why? Why is he giving him so damn much? And God, to have the cockiness of a Shep and Austin. Why is God giving them such cockiness? I don't understand this. I could go all day on the men of Southern Charm, but I do want to point out the women are just way more on track on this show. And they've cycled through a lot of women, and for various reasons. Now, remember, we don't have Olivia Flowers on this season, which I think is a damn shame. And I really don't know the inner workings behind the scenes of this show. because I thought Olivia was a shoo-in, and I didn't know, like, they just couldn't fit the storylines in with, her being Austin's ex. But I thought she shared so much with her brother passing away last season, and she had, the stuff going on with Taylor, all of this mess. So I thought she was a shoo-in to come back, and I will say she will be missed, but this show does seem to cycle through women. I mean, Cameron. There's a lot of people that I don't mind that they cycle through. Like, remember Ashley? Remember Thomas Ravenel's lady Ashley, which provided for, that's the quandary, right? Like, horrible people that we are horrified watching sometimes make great television. That's that thing that I don't think us as Bravo audiences, we still haven't faced. We still haven't been able to come to grips with that. Whereas, these people shock and horrify us. We also need them to a degree because it drives the storylines and it makes the good people look great. And I think that's dynamic in terms of storytelling. And that's what we're doing, folks. At the end of the day, it's storytelling. At the end of the day, it's 43 minutes each week of storytelling. So let's get, do you hear the passion, folks? This is, by the way, it's like 10:30. I'm doing this super early. I got like about 6 hours of sleep and I've got a little energy. So I'm going to expand it all on this Southern Charm recap. Right before this, you'll have heard Sachi from the Girls Gone Wild 3-part docuseries on Peacock. So that's a really serious 3-part docuseries, even though there's a lot of fun, light moments about a certain place in time and Joe Francis and the Girls Gone Wild franchise. But I think it's very interesting that I'm putting that right before Southern Charm, but I know it's probably like, woo, that's real dark stuff, and then going into a potentially silly Southern Charm recap. But listen, you get it all here. This is like a jukebox playing all different sorts of songs. Sad songs, horrifying songs, fun songs, dance songs. And speaking of dance songs, folks, listen, I always have told you that the number one song in the world, not just America, the world, is Raise Your Glass by Dina Deadly, the Vanderpump Rules theme song, right? We all know. I think this year especially, and by the way, I am so gratified for the people that sent me their Spotify Wrapped and Raise Your Glass was on their Spotify Wrapped, because some of them said, I listened to your podcast and I started listening to it every day. Do you know how that makes my heart sing? Do you know how that gives me wings? I mean, truly, truly. And I was DMing with somebody the other day. We need to find the slowed down version, the one that they put on the preview for season 11 of like, you know that it's your time. These are the best days of your life. Just raise your glasses high. This one's for you tonight. I need that full, slowed down, sad version because that's the one I want to play at my funeral. And then we'll do the fast-paced one at the end of the funeral, By the way, my funeral will be 3 hours long, just like most of my podcasts. Excited. So take notes, you guys. Start planning the funeral now. I have a feeling it'll come sooner rather than later. Hey-o! But the second best song, I do like the Summer House theme as well, but I feel like the Summer House theme has really been like kind of pushed to the side, unfortunately. But I will say, coming in at number 2 then is It's Easy. And what's It's Easy, Ryan? Well, that is the Southern Charm song. And it's by Mia Sable, and it's the ba-ba-doo, ba-ba-dee-ee. So, would you mind? I know it's Saturday. I know it's the weekend. You might be listening to this early. You might be listening to this without headphones. You might be listening to this in a car. You don't want to disturb your surroundings. But what I'm asking of you is to disturb your surroundings, is to say, hey, I don't care if this wakes people up. This is going to be a rooster. This is a clarion call, and we're going to sing and dance and be joyful about this song, because there's a 3.5-minute version of this. We're not going to do the 3.5-minute version, but we'll go until the spirit tells us to stop, right? So here we go. Are you ready? Okay, I want you to really get into this, and you're rolling your eyes at first. I get it, but I swear to God, by 20 seconds in, you're going to love it. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Wow, you guys. Didn't that make you feel good? Didn't that make you feel great? Oh, God, I'm out of breath. How does Taylor Swift do it? 3.5 hours every night. I can't make my way through like a 2-minute Southern Charm breakdown, and I'm sitting down on my big fat podcaster ass. This is crazy. Okay, so this episode, season 10, episode 1, it's called Raising Cain. And I was like, oh my God, does the gang go to one of those Raising Cain chicken things and do a mukbang or something like that? I was like, that would be exciting. But I think it's more of the Raising Cain, like raising hell, like things, and it's gothic. We are in Charleston, for the love of God. And the show description that we get from the cable company says, after a rocky year, Shep, Austin, and Craig try to forgive and forget. Can these men forgive and forget? I mean, they're very forgetful in certain instances, so I think something tells me that they can, but who knows? The show starts with the preview for the entire season, and we won't go through that right now, but I will say one of the funnier things about it is that they use the song that you just heard, and it's like, ba-ba-doo, ba-ba-dee. It's easy. It's like haunting music in the background, and you're hearing like voices of like, you destroyed my life, that kind of thing. And we open up on Charleston and we see like a, big white steeple. And I will say, just having come back from Charleston like over a month ago for Sophie's wedding, it really gives me a whole nother understanding of this show, because King Street is it truly is just a street of bars. And what you don't realize is what a college town vibe it has. And this is why these dudes, besides Craig, will never settle down, because they are still going out to these bars and finding it's like the Wooderson effect from Dazed and Confused of like, I get older, these girls stay the same age. All right, all right, all right. Like there's just young, pretty girls everywhere. And so these guys are constantly getting themselves into trouble, I'm sure, on King Street, because they're like, yeah, let's have a cocktail. Let's have a gentlemanly cocktail. And then they see some like cocktail server or something, and bad things are going to happen. Bad things. These men have no will. Men have no willpower, no self-control, except for Craig. And that's why everybody should learn to sew, damn it. So anyways, we see like the Charleston Bridge, King Street, a lot of zoom shots, and we do like the round robin, like, zoom in on what everybody's doing. And Madison LaCroix and her very, very good looking husband are making breakfast, bacon, which I'm like, wow, Madison eats bacon? Relatable. And they're just kissing, doing their like morning thing, and she's like, my nipples coming out, ooh, titties for breakfast. And then we zoom over there and we go to Shep's house, and Shep, you can tell, is super proud of like the working out that he's been doing, because he's like, hey, I'm gonna do this scene where I'm getting in the shower. Do you mind? You want to capture this magic? So he's like shaving, he's shirtless, he has a towel on, and he has the shower going, and you can just tell he's like super proud. He's like, I'm just gonna turn the heat up so you can see my muscles right here. And the water's rushing, and he's waiting for it to get hot. And then he goes in the other room by like his clothing shelf, and he like picks up a book by Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis wrote the book like Moneyball, wrote a bunch of good books. But like Shep, while he's waiting for the water to warm, he opens the book and reads a little passage. Like he's like, yeah, I'm half naked and I'm gonna read. I am what you call a Renaissance man. Yeah, all right. All right. And then he gets in, you guys, and he takes the towel off, and we see, within the first 2.5 minutes of this episode, we see Shep ass. He's like, yeah, I want to give you full glutes. I want to give you full butt. And I'm sure a lot of men and women appreciated it. I felt nothing because I'm dead inside. But you could just tell he was super proud of this. He's like, yeah, is Craig going to show his ass? No, but Shep will. And then we go over to Taylor's place. Taylor used to be with Shep, and now she has a new boyfriend, Gaston, who I believe is associated with the Southern hospitality people. And she's FaceTiming Gaston, and she's like, hello. He's like, what's up, baby? Your haircut looks nice. And he's wearing a baseball cap. So he's like, with my baseball cap? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm Taylor. And then we get like some fancy horn music, and then we go over to Austin's place, and Austin's packing up for some sort of trip, right? He's like, this is going to be good right here. All right. Okay. I've got my overnight bag, and then he has a step stool to get to the highest part of his closet. He's like, even Austin needs a step stool. Getting closer to heaven with this step stool. He zips up his suit bag, and all of a sudden, Craig in his Jeep. I love that Craig it doesn't have a Rolls Royce. He's not Kathy Hilton like, I'm Kathy. He just has a nice nice like Jeep, right? Like a nice one. Anyways, he's going to pick up Austin, and you just get the sense that these people, they all just kind of live in this area, and that's what I like. And I like that it's not Hollywood. I like that it's not New York. I like that it's its own vibe. And you kind of sense that. Imagine if these men did live in one of those big metropolitan areas, how much more damage that they could possibly do. Like, I like that they keep it local potentially. And so anyways, Craig walks in, the door's unlocked, and that's probably how they do it down in Charleston. It's like, yeah, just come on in. We don't lock our doors around here. And Austin's like, Craig. And he's like, what's up? It's me, Craig. And Austin's coming down. And we find out we're going to Shep's family house, one of Shep's family's house. I mean, these people are old money. And Shep, I mean, that's another thing, man. My parents don't even have young money. They just don't have money. Like, my dad's retired now, but like, I know what my dad has, and it'll get through hopefully for the next, let's say my dad lived 60 years. It won't get him through that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, some of these people have old money, and Shep is one of those people. And it's fascinating because I think when you have old money like that, it maybe gives you a certain lease on life that a lot of us don't know about, but there's probably a lot of burdens with that as well. And maybe some frustration in trying to make your own way in this world. But you have a lot more freedom to explore or do ayahuasca, as it were. But anyways, Craig's like, yeah, his family house is going to have a blow dryer, Austin, so don't even worry about it. And that even pissed me off too. I'm like, Austin has a hair care routine. I'm in my 40s. I don't have a hair care routine at all. Like, I'm like, you blow dry your hair? Should I start blow drying my hair? He's packing a blow dryer? Anyways, Craig's like, let's hit the road. I'll drive. And Austin lets us know that Craig, he's like, when I go on road trips with Craig always drives, If I'm an amateur psychologist, and every man on Southern Charm is, it's probably a control thing. And Craig in a talking head says, I'm always driving because my friends are always drunk. That's such a great point. But anyways, Craig forgets to close the trunk part of the car, so they have to pull over already. These guys can't make it 10 feet without something crazy happening. We flash down King Street, and all of a sudden we see a cane walking. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Tiny Tim. No, folks, it's Tiny JT. JT, who came on his first season of Southern Charm last season, and made a real big dent. And not a lot, he went after Austin, because he was in love with Taylor. And now he's walking down King Street with Vanita with this cane. And I'm like, this dude, it's like a Willy Wonka kind of vibe going on. And unfortunately with JT, he kind of blew a lot of this season for us because we know he's already left Southern Charm and has refused to participate in the last 2 talking head sessions for the season. And I think JT's really going to regret that decision because at some point he's going to want to speak up for himself, and all he's going to have is like Instagram and TikTok to do his, his messaging. And I think that's a real, like, if you sign up for this shit, you got to go the distance. Reality TV ain't for the faint of heart. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. You leave the fans out in the lurch, And anyways, they're going to shop for an outfit. And Vinny's like, can we get a different cane for the outfit? And JT's like, yeah, if you can find one. Would you mind getting the door for me, Vanita? That's hard with this cane. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So all of a sudden, we find out that Vanita and JT now have like a real big friendship since the end of last season. And also JT relates that he was like on an excursion and a trip, and he was on like an RV or something, and he hit a little dirt drift, and he projectiled pretty like far down the side of a mountain, I guess. And the ATV, I think, like he said he was laying there on the ground. There's blood everywhere. He looks up and the ATV is rolling down the hill. And it pins his leg underneath of it, and he's trapped. Imagine JT screaming in the jungle. He's like, Austin, you did this to me, Austin. You made this happen to old JT. Oh, my God. And anyways, but he was like, seriously, am I going to lose my leg? Am I going to lose a leg? So I get to the doctor, and he said, you're not going to die. And then we see a picture of his leg, and it just looks like a deep bruise. And I'm like, if you have a deep bruise, why are we walking with a cane for a deep bruise? And part of me thinks it's like for show. Part of me thinks it's like, well, wouldn't it be cool if this season I walked with a cane a little bit? Wouldn't that be exciting? And I got to tell you what, it is exciting. I love it. I love making fun of him on a cane. So I'm like all for it. And how dare you give Miss Patricia a cane at the end of this episode? How dare you? She will decide if she ever wants to use a cane. And he was trying to be funny. He was giving everybody canes, but I take it personally. Anyways, Vanita's like, I'll protect you, da-da-da. And Vanita lets us know in a talking head, the first time JT and I bonded was when we were in Jamaica last season. And we flash back to that of them being silly on the beach together. And I think she gets a kick out of his sense of humor because JT does have an odd sense of humor that can sometimes hit you in the funny bone. But she says, we talk every day now. And she's like, I feel like we're just really close. Now, I hear from the mean streets of Charleston that this guy did Vanita dirty and really hurt her feelings. So I do think that they hook up at some point this season. You can already tell in this because he's trying on jacket and she's like, that looks yummy. And he's like, did you just call me yummy? And Vanita's like, yeah, yummy. You look really nice. You look, she's like really cute. And he's like, okay. In a talking head, JT's like, you can't teach chemistry. It's either there or it's not. And it's there. It's there. So they're all going to this thing called the Carolina Cup, and they rented a party bus, or JT rented one, and Vanita's going to go, and all like the cast are going to meet there. And it's like this big thing that they do every year and go to and get really drunk at, supposedly. And they're going to meet all the guys already up there. And it's this horse race, and we hear trumpet fanfare music. And she says it's really like a Lily Pulitzer fashion show. And so all the girls have the biggest hats. And Vanita says she doesn't have a lot of memories because she was always too inebriated to have those memories. Relatable queen. She asked JT, are you excited to see people tomorrow? And he's like, well, I haven't talked to Austin since last year, I think. And we flash back to the reunion where JT was going in on Austin going, I think I'm going to perform the first ever fuckboy exorcism on Austin. And Vanita in the scene goes, is it going to be eye contact? Hey, how you doing? Or are you not going to speak? And he goes, I can't just be there with him and just be like staring. We got to have a conversation, man. In a talking head, he goes, I was not thrilled with Austin's behavior last year. And then we flash back to JT's greatest hits of like going after Austin. Like, this has to fucking end, Austin. And Austin's like, JT, stop, dude, stop. And he's like, you are cruising for a bruising, Austin. You are cruising. And we have like all these split screens of all of these times that he's like, shut up, Austin. You just told that woman to hush. You a child? And then remember when he JT's much tinier than Austin because Austin's a very tall guy and that's like his claim to fame. Is that remember he like body bumps Austin and he's like, do it again, boy. Do it again, boy. My name's JT. Do it again. You do it again. I'll shove this cane so far up your butthole. Do it again. JT says, I think the message landed. He tells Vanita, I'm going to take the high road here and be just like, hey, I almost died. I have a very deep bruise. And I don't care if you're toxic, but I'm good now. And Vanita's like, yeah, life is too short. He's like, yeah, life's too short to have a beef. Almost lost my life in an ATV accident. So we cut to Craig and Austin doing their Thelma and Louise road trip. And Shep wants them to meet him at the farmhouse. So he's on the phone telling this to Audrey. Who's Audrey, folks? Who's Audrey? That's right. Austin has a boo. Austin has a boo. He hangs up with his boo, and Craig's like, you didn't say I love you. You didn't say I love you. And Austin's like, I did not. I did not say I love you. He lets us know in a talking head, I met Audrey last summer. We see a picture of her. She's a very pretty girl. She lives in Charlotte. And we've been officially dating for 3 months, even though later we find out it's probably a lot longer than that. And Austin's like, typically my move is to just like Craig, hang out with someone a bunch and like not define it and do butt stuff because I'm like too chicken shit to say something. And Craig's like, right. But with Audrey, I am the one who brought it up. So I was like, we should define the relationship, right? And we flash back to Austin in the kitchen with Audrey, even though we kind of don't fully see her, I don't think, or like see her in like glimpses. And he's like, how is my little Pookie monster? how is my little Pookie monster? And Audrey is like, Pooks is doing good. But Audrey seems very uncomfortable with calling Pook. Maybe I'm just misreading it. Maybe she's nervous for the cameras, but she's like, Pooks is doing good. Like, am I safe here? And she's like, I'm just tired per usual. She looks like just like a cute college girl, you know? Like, I mean, God, Audrey, like, but when you think about somebody like Madison. Sorry, I'd be remiss to not bring up one of Austin's greatest hits of all time in this recap. And that's when, remember, he was with Madison and he also brought two girls home with him. And then Madison heard about it and came over. And I think it was like 7 a.m. And she was like, what the fuck are you all doing here? And he's like, Madison. And he's trying to push down his boner in his like underwear. He's like, you don't know. No, these girls magically appear. You don't understand. Why are you being this way? Why are you doing this? Oh my God, it's not what you think. Take it easy. Are you kidding me? Chill out, Madison. So I'm just wondering if like Madison, but like if it's Audrey's like, Audrey, give me a break, Audrey. They busted through a hole in my ceiling. I have no clue. Pookie, please. But he goes on to let us know it's not just Pookie. He goes, there's Pooks, there's Pookie Monster, there's Pookaponymous. Like, he went to Pookaponymous. Like, this guy is pooking out. Like, what about Pookanana, Pookabilly, Pooka Jam Band, Pooka Fish, Pooka? I'm just trying to think. Like, you could Pookify anything. Don't yassify, Pookify. And we see a picture of them by the beach hugging, and he's like, it's still weird to tell people, like, hey, this is my girlfriend. This is my girlfriend, Audrey. And, you know, he goes, you know, for me, definitely, it is just so weird. And I totally understand that, you know, like, especially when you're used to living alone or something like that. It's hard, like, okay, when do you tell people? But also, it's Austin. And, you know, Austin's been known for, you know, like doing his Austin thing. So I want to know way more about their relationship, and hopefully they dive into it. I think I'm totally down to see how this relationship works, right? He says, it's a big step. It's a big step to be a man. And him and Craig are just driving, and they pull up, or Shep pulls up. And Tommy, the guy that takes care of his parents' place, Tommy, this old guy, old cool guy, is like, hey, what's going on, bud? And Shep's like, good to see you, man. And we see little Craig. Shep's dog, little Craig, is back. And Shep lets us know, he's like, the race is tomorrow, and Craig and Austin are on their way, dude. And he's like, hey, Tommy, look at this. I'm going to wear this, a white linen suit. And Tommy's like, that's going to be perfect for the cup. That's going to be perfect. You know, Shep is that kind of wealthy that he dresses ridiculous, but in a fun, cool way. He lets us know in a talking head, he's like, my family's farm is in Boykin, South Carolina, which is like a 10-minute drive to the Carolina Cup. Boykin is my family on my dad's side. So the town is named after them. I thought Boykin was like what Craig and Shep do back in the day. We be Boykin tonight, right? Let's go out on King Street and Boyk. But actually, it's his family's name. And he says, yeah, King George III granted the Boykins the land in 1780 something. And my dad has a deep connection and love for it. And we see pictures of Shep like hunting on the land, and they spent a lot of time there. But we have fucking kings involved. This is Southern royalty, and you really get that picture. So they go into the house, and Shep is checking out the food situation because he wants to cook. And Tommy's like, I hear you're into the healthy stuff now. And he goes, I am healthy, Tommy. And Tommy's like, no, look at you. Look at you. I mean, he looks fine, you know. I'm happy for him, but I never really thought he looked a little bloated from the alcohol, but other than that, he looks good. And Tommy's like, so, and this is like this old dude, and he's like, hey, so you're still doing all that health stuff? And then Shep's like, yeah, I went to Costa Rica and did ayahuasca. Like, listen, I've been around a lot of my parents' friends through the years, and at no point would I be like, yo, I went to Coachella and did a little acid during Lady Gaga. A great experience, huh? Like, Shep's like just offers it up. He's like, went to Costa Rica and did an illegal substance, you know. And then he goes, I told you about that, Tommy. Did you ever look it up on YouTube? I need a whole episode about Tommy looking things up on YouTube because Tommy's like, yeah, I did. And Shep's like, so I'm recalibrating, Tommy. And he's like, okay, good. In a talking head, Shep says, what happened in Las Vegas was very sobering. No pun intended. We flash back to last year's reunion where Shep is looking very, puppy dog. And he's like, at BravoCon, I was out of control. I can't even tell you, Andy, what happened. And Andy's like, well, what happened is you were blackout all weekend. And Shep's like, basically, yeah. And you guys, I've told you this before, but I was there at that BravoCon. In fact, I have a picture of Shep looking like he's out of his fucking mind at the Bravo Awards. Like, looked like he was on another planet. And my thought was like, oh, this dude's on mushrooms. Because all those Bravo dudes, like, mushrooms is very in vogue the last couple of years. And so I thought, and I was looking at Craig and Austin looking at Shep, just like kind of shaking their heads. And this was Friday night. So like the weekend hadn't even come. This was Friday night. He was already at a 10, but he just looked like he was still having the time of his life. And also I was busy hiding from Sandoval because they placed me at like right behind Sandoval and Schwartz, like 3 seats to the right. So I was like just trying to look down so there was no eye contact made. And Sandoval like had his arms crossed, like his hands crossed with his like fingernail paint, looking like really moody. So it was a wild thing to experience and to watch. But what I guess is that he just stayed at that level. And I've heard so many stories, but like the one that I know from Paige, who has been on the Jeff Lewis show before, was at I think a blackjack table with Shep, and like Shep was like completely out of it, yelling at the cocktail server and the dealer, and I guess was just on another level, but being a real asshole. So I guess it just didn't go well for him, and I think he was hitting on anything that moved, including Bravo celebrities. And yeah, obviously there's other things, because I know Bravo was very, very not happy with it. But, to Shep's credit, he went to BravoCon or Bravo Miami Fan Fest a couple weeks ago, and he was well behaved, I heard. But Shep says, I knew something had to change. I had to go to Boykin. So he goes, I knew something had to change. Usually that's the part of the story is like, I went to rehab or I went into intensive therapy like Rachel Leviss. But he's like, so earlier this year, I went to Costa Rica. And we see like shots of a Costa Rica beach. And he's like, I went to this psychedelic retreat. I'm like, of course you did. Hell yeah, man. Manhood. He's like, I went to this retreat for self-realization and examination. And we see a blouseless Shep in the ocean just looking out. And he goes, it was very powerful. Very powerful. And he's like, they say it's like 3 years of therapy in 4 nights. Oh my God. When I heard this the first time, I was in cahoots because I know he really believes it. And I hope it did do him a lot of good. Obviously it did him a little good, right? But come on. You know what else is 3 years of therapy? 3 years of therapy. There's no shortcuts in life, unfortunately. There just isn't. Shep's telling Tommy, he's like, I've been back. It's not perfect because I've been doing things one way for a long time, as you know, Tommy. So I'm trying to be healthy. And Tommy's like, well, it's working. Well, it's working. And Shep's like, I appreciate that. We do not need to coddle this man. We do not need to just let Shep, it's working. Don't tell him things like this. But Shep lets us know. He's like, I'm going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I've tried to drink less and I think it's working. I like that he's like, I stopped drinking. He's like, I'm trying to drink less. And also he didn't say I'm drinking less. I'm trying to drink less. I was like, the verbiage in here is like a chef's kiss. Anyway, Shep's like, well, Tommy, I might go for a jog. I'm like, yeah, new healthy Shep. Why not go for a jog? Speaking of health. And so he says, Tommy, Craig, and Austin should be close. I'll run, I'll shower, and we'll get going. So he's like, little Craig, come on. Shep lets us know in a talking head. He goes, after Vegas, I reached out to Austin and Craig, my boys. And they sort of blew me off. At the reunion flashback, Shep goes, you guys are the only guys I can talk to. Do you realize that? And Craig is like, it's happened 17 times. And Shep just seems blown away that they won't accept him. And all of a sudden we see Shep running in Boykin, kind of like Forrest Gump. And poor little Craig's like running behind him. Is it safe for this type of dog to be running like this? But Shep says, I want them to understand how much they hurt me. Because when I have a problem, for them to say no thank you is beyond anything that I'd ever known about friendship. Run, Shep, run. It's not run for us. It's run, Shep, run. I was running. You're my girl, Taylor. So I think this is a very interesting way to look at friendship, right? Friendship is one of those things of like, I'll take a bullet for you. But at the same time, friendship is also having those hard conversations and pulling back till somebody realizes that they've got to fix themselves, right? So the fact that Shep is really not understanding is kind of mind boggling to me because I think Shep is a smart dude to some degree, but also he's a romantic, he's a reader. So I know all of these things, he feels deeply, but there's this inbred man thing, this Iron John about him of like, this is what brothers do. This is what they do. They stand behind their brothers. And I just don't see it like that necessarily. Now, back in the car, Craig goes, I want to have a relationship with Shep again. I miss Shep. And like we see each other in the gym, which is like pretty surface level. And then we flash back to the gym and they're all kind of like high-fiving at the gym. I like that. What's up, bro? What's up? Spot me. Bench this. What's up? What's up? What's up? Craig goes, it's not what it used to be. And Austin's like, I know. The question that I have for him, Craig says, is just what does he want? Like if he honestly wants to change, we can be there for him to lean on. Like, but I want clarity from him, We're already fucking split. The bros are already split, Craig says. Tough stuff. So then we go to King Street and Madison LaCroix walks into some clothing store and she is meeting one of her friends, but she's shopping for the Carolina Cup. And we are introduced to our new cast member. Her name is Molly and she is a former model and she's really funny. She's really quirky. She has a big crush on Whitney. So I don't know. This Whitney, by the way, I want to remind everybody, Whitney produces Southern Charm. He's one of the producers on Southern Charm. And I think one of the biggest crimes in history, and it shows that he potentially is a smart producer because he stopped putting himself in the show as much. Remember that one season where he was with the modelly girl and he was playing guitar for her and it was kind of like embarrassing, like a little bit? I was like, listen, dude, I would never, this is what men do. Like, we do stupid shit like that, but I would never put it on TV. I would want that to remain a personal moment between two people. And I think Whitney at some point was like, dude, I'm a serious, producer trying to do things. I can't fully be on Southern Charm, even though I think he adds, he's one of those people that stir shit up. And also, you could tell these men, the men of Southern Charm, look up to Whitney in such a way. So they all are trying to impress him in every scene, it always feels like. So we only see Whitney at the end with his mom, Miss Patricia. And I'm curious how much we will see of Whitney this season. But Whitney gets involved in a lot of, remember when Taylor sent him a nude or a semi-nude and Miss Patricia saw it? I was like, that is dark. I don't even know if we ever got the full story. Whitney, if you're listening, come on this show. We need to talk. But he produces this, but I think it's one of those things. He didn't make himself a full cast member. And I think I would love to see how this dude's life works and who he's dating. But this girl, Molly, has a crush on Whitney. And I want to know more about that even because we go to the last scene and he's with a very skinny modelly type girl and Molly's like, ugh. Anyways, Madison says Molly's one of her favorite people in the world. We see pictures of them in the past. She's a model and she used to do her hair and makeup for shoots. She's funny and she's weird, but in a good way, Madison says, and she loves it. And they're doing their fun girl trying on outfits. I mean, they're both beautiful women. Molly in a talking head says, I used to be a top model. I walked for Vivienne Westwood. I shot for Vogue, but I have a thyroid problem. Shout out thyroids. And she says it causes her weight to fluctuate. So in the past 2 years, she gained 45 pounds. And by the way, she looks amazing. So I can't even imagine 45 pounds off of her. I'm like, damn. But she says she lost a lot of modeling jobs because of it. It's a mind fuck. I can't imagine having to make money off of your looks. Thank God I don't have many, so I don't have to worry about it. But could you, when I was trying to be an actor, that of course played into it. I always prayed that I was better looking, just because those would people that would get jobs easier or get in the room easier, or even in life. If you are a good looking dude or a good looking woman, more doors are open to you. People want to be around you. It's just, personality will only take you so far. You got to be hot in this world. Anyways, they finally sit down to have some mimosas at this. I love the stores on Bravo. They always let you drink or have a sit down. And Madison's like, "Are you excited to see Craig?" To Molly, and Molly's like, "I mean, and they're laughing. And Molly's like, I'm not trying to flirt and steal him from Paige or anything. Dude, Paige would end you, Molly. She lets us know, she says, Craig and I have been flirty friends for a long time, and we used to sext each other. And by the way, we know that Craig is pervy. We've heard that now from Paige. We heard that I think he's like into like light S&M. He's a big sexter. And she says they used to send each other naughty videos and stuff. Like, what is that? Like, would that mean like Craig sewing in the nude with like a heart on? What does that mean exactly? By the way, an ugly dude does this to Molly and it's like game over. If Craig does it, it's like flirty fun, you know? She goes, I mean, Craig's hot, you know, he's hot. It's like fine. So it doesn't seem like she has any kind of like ambition there for Craig at all. She's like, oh, that's what hot people do. We send each other flirty, sexy things. And then Madison says, when's the last time you saw Whitney? And she's like, well, I went over to Whitney's house and I cooked him lamb shanks. This man has models cooking him lamb shanks. What? And Madison's like, girl, that's the key to a man's heart. You know, that you got to feed him, right? And Madison says, I think you two would be cute together. And she's like, I think so. And then we see video of Molly like kind of like trying to manhandle Whitney at Republic. And Whitney kind of looks uncomfortable with it. Molly says, I like Whitney, but I just don't trust that he's actually ready to settle down. Yeah, Molly, he's not. Let me answer that. Hey, big spoiler alert. He's not. I can tell you right now. This man is not going to settle down for a very long time until he finds the right one. And I don't think that girl at the end is the right one, but I'm just speculating. She says, I'm 36. And they're like, you're 36, Madison says? And she says, girl, I'm in the years of the people are now getting divorced. So now there are now men popping up again from their first divorce. And Madison's like, yeah, but then those men are going to go through that hoe phase. So you don't want to get them fresh out of that divorce. And Molly's like, yeah, because I'm a jealous psycho. And once I heard jealous psycho, I was like, welcome to Southern Charm, Molly. Welcome, me lady. The water's warm. Come on in. Anyways, they cheers to that. Madison's like, same. Yeah, cheers to psychos. And Madison's like, yeah, I'm like, here's an air tag. Swallow it. I'm going to track your ass for the rest of your life. And Molly's like, I won't even tell him. I'm going to do it while he's sleeping. Just jam it in his ass. Woo! Hopefully we get that scene. Hopefully Molly doesn't try to put an air tag on Whitney at some point. We go back to Shep's Boykin residence and the boys. Fridays for the boys. The boys pull up in the Jeep. The boys are back in Boykin. Yeah, the boys are back in Boykin. Shep greets him. He's just showered. He has his like button-up shirt tucked into his jeans. Little Craig goes out to greet the boys. And, you know, everybody's like doing their pleasantries. You can see that Craig's drinking a coconut water because he's a grown-up and he cares about water that is good for you, like coconut water. So Shep gives him a lay of the land. We see all of these like animal like heads and prints on the walls that you can tell they hunted themselves. But Shep's put out some chips and salsa for everybody because he's a great host. And we go into the bedroom with like these two little twin beds, and Austin's like, "This will work." Craig goes into his room. He's like, "Do I want this bed, or do I want to masturbate on this bed later, or do I want to masturbate on this bed later?" And he finally picks the other bed, and then he puts his suitcase on top of the bed, which is, you're not supposed to do that. I'm always like that, and I've been now chided many times. You don't put your suitcase on top of the bed because it left a little mark, right? And so downstairs, Shep and Austin are going over their dinner. Like, okay, we got chicken. Did you say fish? And Craig comes in. What are you guys trying to cook? And they're going to cook chicken and salmon. And they have salsa and cheese dip. And they're like, you know, Shep's like, that's my secret recipe. And Craig's like, how many secrets do we have these days? And Shep's like, a lot. And there's like a big pause as they're chomping on chips. And Shep's like, I want to talk about a lot of stuff with you guys. And Craig's like, okay. In a talking head, Shep says, my relationship with these guys, it kept me up many a night and a morning. That could also be the ayahuasca or it might not be it might be various substances. You know, also you drink a Red Bull, you're up all night like Kathy Hilton. So he says it was a lot of anger and pain with these guys, right? Shep goes, I wanted to talk to you bros because, you know, after Vegas, I was like, I think I'm a little out of control and I don't know what is going on internally. And if anybody can give help, guidance, support, or harsh correction, it's us, right? It's us bros. And you guys didn't do any of that. It's your fault. It's your fault I am the way I am. And now Austin and Craig, you can tell already, like, oh, he's going to pull this bullshit. And Shep's like, that hurt more than you'll ever know. And Craig's like, yeah, I mean, look, I hear you and that's fair. But the shit that you did in Vegas, you chose to get so fucked up to put yourself in that position at a Bravo event. And you came back and you like doubled down, Austin says. And Shep's like, yeah, no, after no one would talk to me in Charleston. Yeah. Don't you understand? This is friendship, man. Like, Austin, I used to talk to you 2-3 times a day about whatever. And Craig, come on. I've made fun of you. I mean, we've known each other for 10 years. And Craig's like, right, but you affected my work. I couldn't sew right. He's like, you sucked me in. And Shep's like, you're you and I'm me, Craig. Craig in a talking head says, I've never shut the door on Shep until BravoCon. BravoCon, where friendships go to die. He had come in and I instantly saw that he was just a blacked out mess. And we see him at the Southern Charm panel, which I was at. And it just, yeah, he was. Craig goes, I'm a business owner. And we see him walking through BravoCon with Paige, like the king and queen of BravoCon. He's like, I can't be associated with Shep's unhealthy behavior, right? Shep in a talking head goes, you got to be kidding me. The litany of things that Craig has pulled over the years is quite extensive. We flash back to 2014 where like a real skinny Craig Conover. Like, I forgot how weird he used to look. Like, and he was considered good looking back then. I like Craig now way more than, like, you look at this and you have Shep talking to Craig in 2014 going, we were just a little worried about you, man, you know? And, you know, Craig going, well, yeah, I won't sleep for 3 days and then I sleep for, 20 hours. And Shep's like, that's really bad. So Craig's been there, man, but it was in 2014. And then we see Craig yelling at, I think, Cameron going, you said I'm taking that van to the house. I'm taking that van. I don't want to get on a plane. And Whitney going, shut up, Craig. And Chelsea going, are you drunk? And Craig's like, what was that, Chelsea? What was that? And then last season when Craig's like, stop, please move on with your fucking life. And Austin going, Craig just took 4 shots. Move on with your fucking life. So back in this scene, Shep says, for Craig to play the victim because of my actions, it doesn't really hit home for me. Doesn't add up to the old Shepper. And Austin goes, Shep, dude, okay. I mean, I didn't know if you were like being like real or if this was just like, no, if you just want to make yourself. And he's like, no, Austin, I was on the ropes. And Austin's like, okay, but at that moment I made a choice. I was like, you need to fucking set a boundary right now if this is going to be Shep's behavior. And Shep's like, I just didn't know I was such a pariah. I mean, this is all news to me, man. It just sounds to me like you just don't see relationships the way I do. And Craig's like, no, I think you fucked up and you needed to never do that again, Shep. And like, I've heard about some bad nights you've had since New York. And Shep's like, I have. Ayahuasca isn't perfect, you know? And so Craig's like, okay, so what do you think? I'm a masochist? I'm going to keep sticking around? I like that it's almost like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And Shep's like, you never stuck around, bro. He goes, for years I did, Shep. What are you talking about, Craig? Craig, I'm not a charity case. I've got property in Boykin. And Craig's like, well, you're asking me to treat you like one. No, I'm not, Craig. I'm asking for you to talk to me and maybe be part of some of your journey in pillow making. I mean, that's it. It's so easy, Craig, you know? And Craig's like, that was a choice I made because I was focusing on myself, you know? In a talking head, Craig goes, in the past year, I haven't been drinking and it changed everything for me. We do see Craig drinking non-alcoholic beer in this scene. It's in a beer koozie, but I assume it's non-alcoholic beer. But Craig says, I'm happier and healthier, and my relationship is so much better. And we flash back to him in a scene with him in a scene with Paige, where he says, I am where I am because I started to make the choice for my future self instead of my immediate self. And Paige says, me. And he's like, yeah, and you were a huge part of that, chicken. And she's like, probably the biggest part, I would say. She probably is. Craig says, sometimes you need to take a step back from people. That's all. And Shep's like, yeah, I mean, it's just communication. Even if that lunch was, this is how we feel and we're going to take a step back, that would have been something, you know? And Craig's like, you're right, you know, instead of just ghosting you, you know? And Austin's like, you're not wrong, Shep. You're not wrong. Austin in a talking head said, with Shep, sometimes I'm like, you are a son of a bitch and good fucking riddance, right? Because what you don't see is that I take him out of the clutches of a cop on King Street But at the same time, I don't completely agree with the way that Craig can set boundaries, which is just like a hard cutoff. Because at the end of the day, I fucking love that guy. Bros forever, bros in love with bros, being bros, loving bros, and boykin. So Shep says, let's reset. Okay, let's do it. Let's reset. We had a good talk, good chat. And then Craig breaks one of his chairs. This Craig loves to destroy property on old, like, Southern places. Like, remember Miss Patricia's couch or the chair? Like, everything. Just Craig. Craig's a business owner. He can't be doing this kind of shit. So Craig says he's going to handle dinner. And Shep and Austin are going to go bro out and have a conversation. And you guys, you will not believe this bro conversation that is about to happen. And they're like, well, we'll let Craig Martha Stewart some food in here. And I bet Craig can make a tasty dish. You know, it's like no Scheana Shay with her Mexican food, but I bet Craig makes some delicious chicken or something, right? So Austin and Shep are around the hearth, the fire, and Shep's like, I spent a lot of time around this fire, Austin. And then Austin's like, I'm definitely interested to hear what your journey's been. And about your ayahuasca trip. You know I go to Fish concerts a lot, and I follow that band, so I'm very interested. And Shep's like, for sure, bro. It was crazy. In the kitchen, we see Craig, like, working his cooking magic. He's like, what the fuck is the... What the fuck? Where was I just looking? And little Craig is looking at Craig. Little Craig is looking at Big Craig. It's Inception. Craig's looking at the fridge and the cupboards. He can't find what he's looking. He's like, oh, there it is. There it is. So back in the hearth, Shep, they're sitting down now in front of the fire, and it's real serious. And Shep's like, well, this is going to be raw, just like how I have sex with women. But I had a vision of, and I'm like, where are we going here? I had a vision of you and your sister. Zoinks! What? No, go back, Shep. No. And Austin immediately looks up like, what? And we flash back to an earlier season when he was talking to when he was talking to, what's her name, saying, you know, like revealing the story of he had an older sister and she passed away. And, you know, when I was 7, she was 10, he says, and we see a picture of them. And Shep continues around the fire and he goes, look, Austin, I was so angry with you. Like, I couldn't believe that you would ever ignore me. You know, this is so interesting. Like, it really did eat at Shep. And you just see, you know, it's so interesting what we focus on in life, right? That he really focused on these two dudes. And it's almost like Cape Fear, Robert De Niro in prison, like working out, thinking about like getting like vengeance on Nick Nolte's character. Like he was like angry with these dudes for like, instead of like facing his own issues, being angry at himself for not like for going so out of pocket at times, he chose to focus part of that anger on these bros not being around him. And I know that's a byproduct of his own behavior, but it is interesting. I think a lot of dudes think this way, and it's weird. So Shep's like, I couldn't believe that you would ever ignore me, especially after the whole thing with Taylor. And we flash back to Craig asking Austin, have you ever kissed Taylor, Austin? And Austin saying no. And then we got to Whitney and Miss Patricia's place when they had that dinner where Shep confronts Austin and Austin going, what are you asking me? And Shep's like, if y'all hooked up, would you tell me? And Austin goes, we kissed. Back in this scene, Shep goes, I was just so angry and hurt. That isn't a good thing. I mean, what Shep did, not great. It really isn't great, right? But, you know, that's life. But Shep goes, I was so angry with you. But then the situation with your sister, I like that the death of your sister got you out of this one. He goes, it was so emotional, but also so raw and painful, Austin, I'm sure. And then a bunch of empathy and tears started flowing out of me for you through this ayahuasca trip because that's just so unimaginable to me. Like, it's kind of weird, though, of like, listen, I'll forgive all of your actions because your sister died. And I realized that no matter what you do in life, you will have this burn on you, this stain on you. And Shep's like, Austin's like, yeah. It certainly was like dark ages of the Kroll family for sure. I'm sure it was. And Shep goes, man, when it came to the Taylor thing, I thought maybe there was just like an emotional disconnect. And it was maybe a small amount born out of those years with your sister. And that's why I just forgave you on the spot. during ayahuasca, but I have not let you know until now with cameras up. There's a big pause. And Austin's like, my therapist brings it up all the time. Thank you. Finally, have we had a man saying he goes to a real therapist? We did see, yeah, but like, good. That's good, right? Baby steps. And he goes, yeah, she'll connect dots back to certain traumas in my life. And in a talking head, Austin says, when Shep went on the ayahuasca trip, I was like, what if he comes back and he's like, dude, your aura towards me is all off. Like, I was worried. I'm not going to lie. I was worried. So to hear that he had a vision about me that was meaningful and positive was like a sigh of relief. Us dudes are so dumb. Like, I love that he was like, the fear was he was going to have a bad vision instead of a good vision. It's like, what about just like the reality of the situation and talk on those grounds instead of like this metaphysical aura, like it's still like, anyways. Then Shep continues. He goes, anyways, I had a vision of Taylor too. I took her into my nest. And now we hear quirky music. And then we see Craig and the other word, like he's like in the kitchen still. And he starts like eavesdropping. And we hear Austin going, I was on the Isle of Palms. And I fed her and nourished her as a bird. Say no to drugs, kids. Like seriously, you'll start having visions of like taking care of people as birds. And he goes, and I wanted Taylor Austin to become this majestic bird. Oh my God. There's so many, like I need him just to go into therapy about his ayahuasca trip at this point, because there are so many different levels here of like him thinking he is the provider and like taking care. Anyways, Craig is like eating pretzel bites in the kitchen and he's like laughing. We hear Shep keep going, but instead of being a bird that flew out of the nest and soared the skies, she kept flying into windows and hurting her neck. She's so fucking dumb as a bird, Austin. She fucking broke her bird neck. She's a fucking stupid girl. Bam, bam, bam. And then Austin, instead of going, that's crazy, Austin goes, dude, I had a bird in my house, literally, that was flying in the windows exactly like you said. And then we see a shot of a wooden bird in the house. Oh, that's probably part of this too. These dudes just feed off each other. Like, no, yeah, dude, do you think that was Taylor's spirit flying into my house? And then Craig in the kitchen goes, these two are so fucking dumb. Yes, Craig, yes. Like I shout out, yes, Queen, yes. They are so fucking dumb. Oh my God. We were all Craig in that scene. But the boys are back in town. We're now back in Charleston. We hear the upbeat. And we see Taylor, we see our boy Rod's back, his boyfriend, Molly, and they're like, where's Willy Wonka? And we see JT with his cane come like hobbling out, and they're all about to get into the party bus, right? And Taylor's like, are you okay, JT's like, I'm fine. It's man stuff. I got a deep bruise. All right. And they help him down from this little step. Like, come on. JT says, me and Taylor, our relationship now is fine. I mean, I think a true simp move would be to sort of distance myself and be cold because I didn't get what I wanted. And we flash back to last year when he was like, Taylor, I love you. And Taylor's like, I think I just still need some time to find a hotter boyfriend and process and heal and move forward. And JT's like, it's just, it's awkward. Taylor says in a talking head, it's not awkward at all. I'm just not an awkward person when it comes to that stuff, And then JT goes, I'm always going to be rooting for her. From the friend zone. I am. And then Vanita comes in with the queen of Southern hospitality, Leva. We finally get our first Leva appearance. I hope Leva's in more this season, but she is like the matriarch of Southern hospitality. But, and also Leva has these boys' numbers. She calls shit out right and left. So we need people like Leva on this show for a little dose of reality, right? Anyway, so they board this like very nice party bus. The girls are in their fancy hats and dresses. Everybody looks very big for this horse race. And JT's like, let's go. It's going to be a great day. Great horse race. All right. And so we're in the big party bus. We're driving. And Vanita's like, does anybody want a drink? Let's get it popping. And Molly pops a champagne and it just goes everywhere. So goofy, you guys. And everybody's squealing, pouring the champagne. And it turns out Molly and Vanita both grew up in Charleston. And they've rolled in the same circles, but they've never really gotten to know each other that well yet. So this season will be new. And then I think Rod asked, do you think Miss Patricia is riding down these roads because they're so bumpy? And they're like, is Whitney and Patricia coming? And they're like, yeah. And Molly's like, cool. All right. Yeah. And Rod asks Taylor, how's Gaston? Her boyfriend's name is Gaston. And Taylor's like, he's good. He's flying down to Hilton Head. And just for the day, JT hears this. And Taylor in a talking head says, Gaston is my better half. We started hanging out last summer. Now, this guy is like conventionally modelly looking, I think. And we see pictures of them. And Taylor says, I love that he listens to me. And he respects me as like a human. And then we see a photo of them like where she's licking his like bottom lip with her tongue. You know, being respectful for humans in picture situations. I like that he also doesn't do ayahuasca trips and then calls me a bird breaking my neck into a window. But he says he respects me as a person and not just a pretty girl. Not to like toot my own horn, she says. Vanita goes, JT, are you okay? And JT's like, I have to stop. I'm not going to make it. I got to pee. I'm going to pee my pants. And he's like closing his eyes, trying to meditate, not peeing. We've all been there. They pull into a gas station. And Rod's like, is this where all the hot truckers are? All right. We are now over at Shep's place. Austin is ironing his shirt. He's like, now we're cooking. Craig is on FaceTime with Paige, and he has one of those like sweaters over his like Izod little button up. And Paige is like, you look like your name is Chet and your dad is a real asshole. I'm sorry. That is inarguably funny. That is like, Craig looks like a bully in an 80s film in this look. And Craig's like, I don't want to be Chet. Now, Shep, he has like a fucking full-on black hat. He has this white linen suit. He looks like the author Tom Wolfe, if Tom Wolfe had been on steroids. And Craig's like, you look like you own a horse team. And Paige is like, very nice. You can tell these people that dress a little quirkier are so proud of it, like Robert Downey Jr. Anyways, JT, he still hasn't come back from the bathroom, and he comes back and he's carrying like 8 canes. He bought all of these wood canes from this Love's gas station, right? And they're like, he's a cane influencer, which goes back to the title, Raising Cane. Get it? Cane influencer, Raising Cane. So Rod's like, what up, Cane Daddy? He's like, I got canes for everybody. I got canes for everybody for this trip. So now we're back on the road. And JT's like, so what I did was I got 3 really long cans for the 3 boys, right? I got a cane for Austin, and I'm going to go up to him and say, are we all okay? Get it? We're all okay? Huh? And then the 3 boys can have their tall canes, and we all have our little canes, and then we'll have a little moment where we stick our canes in the air. And Rod's like, I love watching you make a fool of yourself. Rod seems like to be somebody with actual reason in this show. I want more Rod. So we come back and we are at this big horse race. Everybody is in their amazing costumes. Madison and her husband pull up because she's one of the people, she's throwing this. It's 11 a.m. and they've got this like whole tent set up, and there are these 3 huge strawberry trees, like so many strawberries that nobody seems to eat the entire episode. But we're talking like 1,000 strawberries on these 3 trees. And I'm like, this is true wealth. This is a sign of wealth of just 3 strawberry trees that nobody's going to fucking eat at all. Like, did these strawberries get dropped off at some like homeless shelter afterwards? So they're there setting up, and it all looks beautiful. Craig, Austin, and Shep pull up in the Jeep. We see some horses. We see some hats. And, Shep turns to Craig and goes, let's have a good day. And Craig's like, hey, no, let's have a great day. Right? So they all pull up. Austin pulls up to say hi to everybody, including Madison, his ex-girlfriend. So Austin comes up to Madison and her husband. I love when bros meet bros. What's up, buddy? What's up? You looking good? You're looking real good. Yeah, this all looks lovely. Brett, what's going on? Good to see you. You look sharp, buddy. You look sharp. Brett. And so they all are like hugging. It's great to see everybody. And, Madison's like, I don't know how me and Shep are. She's talking to Austin, and Madison's like, how are you and JT? He's like, I don't know if he hates me. And Madison's like, well, he did headbutt you, so you don't put it past him. And Austin's like, I would actually murder him, I think. So we go back to the party van, and Taylor's like, so you haven't seen Austin, JT? And he's like, no. And Vanita's like, who's his girl? And Molly's like, is he bringing her today? And Rod's like, she's great. Her name's Audrey. And Taylor's like, are they actually dating? And Rod's like, yeah. We went down to Hilton Head with Austin and Audrey, and we see a group picture of all of them. And he was like, this was like last summer, which I don't know when this is filming, but he said he's been dating 3 months. And so last summer probably is more than 3 months. And so Lev is like, whoa, they've been dating for a long time. And they're like, oh, wow, something is not adding up with the timeline. So Vanita's like, what is the actual timeline? And so they're like, it sure does stink. And JT's like, are you saying that my exorcism on Austin did not work? In a talking head, JT goes, hearing that Austin's still doing his dirty ass shit. And in his new relationship, I want to shake him and be like, if you want to fuck around and just be upfront about it, boy. And with Austin, I feel like honesty is just strictly an impossibility with this man, right? And there's mysterious music playing, like, ooh, back to the horse race. And the guys are talking about gambling on the horses. And Craig's like, how do they make money here if they can't take bets? And they're like, they make money on the tickets. And Madison's like, come on, man. What are you, an idiot? The party bus finally pulls up, and everybody's excited to see each other. Madison hops on board. JT's getting organized, getting ready to give all his canes away for his big cane-a-thon, Canechella. And everybody's loving the strawberry trees. The champagne is flowing. Craig hugs his sex partner, Molly, and Craig in a talking head says, Molly and I only knew each other online. And we flash back to Molly saying to Madison that they used to sex each other. And he goes, we never hooked up in person or anything, but it doesn't feel weird. It's all in the past. Paige thinks it's so funny. Paige probably does think it's so funny. Paige is completely secure in herself, I think. Like, I honestly don't think that about a lot of people, but I think Paige is very secure in herself. Leva warns everybody, the guys, he's like, JT's brought canes for, I want to warn everybody, JT's brought canes for everyone. All of a sudden we see JT hobbling like Tiny Tim, and Austin's like, dude, look at him walking up with all the canes. Craig does look like an 80s bully, and Craig's like, Jesus Christ. Craig's laughing, like, Madison's like, every time I look at him, I'm like, is he okay? Is he even okay? And all of a sudden, JT walks up to Craig, and he's like, you look great. What's up, handsome? What's up? And then to Austin, he goes, let's not mess around. Let's get it over with. Uh-oh. Austin's like, here we go. And JT's just staring Austin down. And Craig's like, dude, are we good? Like, are we good? What's going on? Like, it's real tense. Like, is he going to pop something? Let's not mess around. Let's do this. And JT, just taking all the time in the world to do this, he finally is like, I got something for you. And Austin's like, really? You can tell he's a little scared in his voice. He goes, really? What? Well, after my near-death experience, Austin, I was thinking about you. God, everybody's thinking about Austin. Ayahuasca, near-death experiences. I think I was a little harsh on you during the exorcism, Austin. But I'm happy as hell for you that you got a girlfriend right now. I am. So I got something for you. And he hands out a cane. And Austin's like, you're not going to beat me with this, are you? He goes, I'm not fighting with you, Austin. This is your cane. Because you turned over a new leaf. This is your new girlfriend cane. New leaf cane. It's water under the Costa Rican bridge, buddy. And Craig's like just laughing to the side. And Austin goes, look at this. And in a talking head, Austin goes, it's fucking weird. He's a fucking weirdo. What a fucking weirdo. JT goes, have a great day and make some money at the stables. All right? All right, dog. And he goes, all right, dogs. Peace. All right, dogs. Keep it chilling. Chillax. I'm going to go chillax. He goes, where's Shep? I got to give Shep a cane. And then Austin turns to Craig and he goes, good stuff. Good stuff. So weird, you guys. So weird. And the fact that JT quit like kills me because he brings so much weirdness, but it seems like this guy isn't loved by the cast. So we get some like horses racing, very exciting. I'm sure if you're there, it's even more exciting. And then all of a sudden we got a big fancy car and Whitney pulls up in a 3-piece suit, all decked out. We get the lady of the show, Miss Patricia. She has this beautiful straw hat on. Kathy Hilton would love this hat. And we have, Whitney's lady love, Taylor, I think her name is Taylor. And she's like dark haired, very modelly looking and skinny. Whitney's hugging everybody. Whitney's like, looks like you're working out, Craig. All right. And he's like, is this a walking stick? And Craig's like, yeah, JT gave him to everyone. And Whitney's like, have a look at that. And Craig's like, we look ridiculous. And Whitney's laughing. Miss Patricia's hugging everybody. God, there's just Miss Patricia. The stories, there needs to be a documentary on Miss Patricia and just her whole life. Don't you think? Right? Anyways, Madison escorts Miss Patricia to the bar because she knows how to have a classy drink. And then Molly, the girl that has a crush on Whitney, sees Whitney's date. She's like, is this your date? He's like, yeah. And Molly goes, I had no idea he was fucking bringing someone. But I mean, I don't really message him and ask him about every single thing he does. So, so it's awkward. Molly is like talking to one of the girls. He's like, one minute he's like, you should have my babies. And the next minute he's out with like a 22-year-old and, and they're dating, She seems very nice, but also kind of like tired and like low energy. And then she goes, maybe she needs some OJ, some blood sugar. Eat some of those strawberries. Nobody's eating the tree strawberries. So this is a whole scene happening. All the horses. Tyler, Rod's boyfriend, wants to know where he can go pet the horses, but there's not a place to pet the horses. And then Austin and Rod are saying, Shep, have you said hi to Taylor yet? And Shep's like, no, I haven't. Should I go over there? And yeah, like go tell her about being a bird on ayahuasca. And so they're like, yeah, go do it. Go do it. Go say hey. And then Rod's like, just don't be weird. That's like useless advice for any of these men. They're going to be weird. So all of a sudden, Shep in his big old race hat pulls up to Taylor. He's like, hello. And Taylor's like, how are you? And Taylor's like, good to see you. Good to see you. And he goes, it's been a while, Taylor. And, and then he like does some double entendre. And you can tell Taylor doesn't know what that means. And Craig and Austin are watching. They're like, they're talking, right? And Benita's like, I didn't know roses and thorns talk to each other. Because everybody's just watching this scenario go down. And Shep's like, I haven't seen you since December. Yeah. And Taylor's like, I know. Real awkward. And Shep goes, I thought we might run into each other somewhere around town, but no. I texted you that I think you, and Taylor's like, did you? And Shep's like, I think you've blocked me. And she's like, don't recall actually. That sounds, and then she's like, maybe I did. Yeah, sorry. And Shep's like, okay, no, it's fine. Yeah. In a talking head, Taylor's like, yeah, I blocked Shep. Yeah. And she laughs. But Shep goes, it was a nice text. Maybe you can read it. And Taylor's like, I really don't. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. In a talking head, she goes, I don't need to have him in my life on my text messages day in, day out. No, babe, you're in Southern Charm. You need to have this. I'm sorry. You got to unblock. Producers they got to make you unblock. But she's like, I don't want him sending memes or like, hey, I'm hanging out with our friends, or like Kyle Richards sending memes to PK. I don't want him texting me, I'm hanging out with our mutual friends. Like, I don't want that, right? And anyways, it's just more awkward. Like, good, hee hee, ha ha. And then Shep walks away and Taylor's like, good to see you. In a talking head, she says, I am in a new relationship with Gaston. I'm going to respect those boundaries. Just leave us alone, please. Ooh, you guys, he's got money in the magazines. So we cut to our last commercial. We come back and Madison's like, how long are we going to milk this Kane thing, JT? And JT's like, well, let me email God real quick. Let me ask him. God's like, do not disturb. Sorry. Out of town reply on God's emails. So Madison doesn't like what JT's selling, any of his quirky humor at all. But Vanita's cracking up at this whole like conversation. And, Madison's like, I didn't think that ATV was going to take you out. And JT's like, nope, not us. Not going to take us out. Nope. We see all of this shrimp, all of this food. All the ladies are flipping out about raspberry macaroons. Miss Patricia sits down with Madison. We have a couple old cast members from Southern Charm pop up. These really good-looking dudes, Eddie and what's his name? And Miss Patricia gets up to hug them. I mean, these are sharp-looking dudes too. And the guy's like, you look beautiful, Miss Patricia. And Mrs. Patricia's like, thank you. So do you. Yeah, so do you. And I love Miss Patricia just having everybody come up and greet her as the matriarch she is. And then all of a sudden, JT's like sitting across the tent. He's like, wait a sec. Is that Miss Pat? Is that Miss Pat? Oh, damn. And Patricia kind of gives a wave. Like, you can tell Miss Patricia doesn't like JT. So JT starts hobbling over, right? And Miss Patricia's nervously laughing. He's like, hi, Miss Pat. Hi. I brought this cane for you, Miss Pat. And all of a sudden the music deflates. And Miss Patricia's like, I don't need a cane. And JT's like, I know, just for looks. And she takes it but by the way, Miss Patricia is offended by this, or it seems offended. Madison at Talking Head goes like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing, JT? And Miss Patricia's like, thank you. In a Talking Head, she goes, I am genuinely offended. What's next? A wheelchair? Vanita says, you don't give a woman past a certain age a cane, even if it's bedazzled with jewels from Harry Winston. Miss Patricia goes, I don't know what the hell he's thinking. It's kind of a stupid gift in my estimation. Vanita says, I wish JT would have talked to me first like he does with almost everything else. Madison goes, he'll learn his lesson. These were all done in Talking Heads. So all of a sudden JT scoots in to where everybody's sitting, like, Miss Patricia. And all of a sudden Miss Patricia gets up and goes, let's go. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And JT goes, she turned my cane down. Miss Patricia goes, I felt like saying, take this cane and shove it to Rod. JT goes, I know I'm not a mind reader, but there is some coldness in the air. Yeah. I think maybe we're missing the point here a little bit. And then Miss Patricia tells Whitney, should we amble over to the car? Whitney goes, Mom, Leva, she wants to get the hell out of here right now. JT in a Talking Head goes, here's the thing about the South. Everyone can be huggy, lovey, kissy, cheeky, but here, there is the surface, and then there's the layer beneath. It looks safe, but it's not safe. It's like a charade. And then all of a sudden, we see a chyron pop on screen. 2 months later, ... And we see like this table, like at night, everybody's eating dinner, sweaty. And JT goes, Craig, you lied, and you offended Miss Patricia. And I didn't say that word about her. And Craig goes, yeah, you did. You said she was a bitch at the cup when you handed her a cane. And JT's like, Craig, you're lying. And Craig's like, it was loud. And Craig goes, what you said blamed us. And JT's like, no, what you said, Craig. And then some girl that I don't know goes, I swear to God, I'm going to hit him. And Whitney's like, well, fucking answer this. And then Rod says, I did last night and I got handily shut down. And then Madison to Molly goes, did you say the word affair? And then Shep goes, you just sat there as quiet as a church mouse. And then Shep goes, don't you dare compare the two. And then Taylor to Vanita, who's crying, says, big deep breaths. And then bop-a-doo, bop-a-dee, it's easy. And that's where we end the show. Oh my God, what a good, solid first episode. I can't wait to see where this goes. I hope you enjoyed the goofy men of Southern Charm, but I think there's like some good stuff here. Those 2 months later, you can't really make heads or tails of that, but obviously I think JT said a slur of some sort about Miss Patricia that got back to Miss Patricia, and you don't fuck with Miss Patricia. So JT dug his own grave there, and I think he also did something to Vanita, so we will see. But JT's not going to have a great season. I hope his limp is better, but that's it. You guys have the best weekend ever. Have a great flipping weekend. I love you. Wish me luck in Vegas with Dad. We're going to go see the Eagles tonight at the Sphere. Dad's going to lose his flippin' mind. Anyways, I'll talk to you on Monday. Bye, guys.